Hello, and welcome to the video. The Impending Doom is a special support gem that triggers the Doom Blast spell when a linked curse skill expires or is overwritten by a different curse. As a standalone version, it is quite lackluster, since most modifiers that grant additional levels do not affect support gems, so it simply lacks base damage. The newly introduced Foulborn Dodra's Scorn Helmet grants a level 30 Impending Doom support for the socketed gems, which deals almost 4 times as much damage as the regular level 20 gem. Later on, you can also consider the Forbidden Shaco Helmet that provides 2 random support gems with levels up to 35, but this particular combination tends to be insanely expensive. To instantly trigger the Doom Blast, you will need a specific, very technical setup. To put it simply, you will need a Vixen's Entrapment Gloves, 2 curse setups with Spell Cascade supports and correct socket order, and apply more curses than your maximum limit allows for. It is tricky to fully optimize for all scenarios, but easy to copy from the planner for general use. The very high base damage of the Impending Doom at level 30 makes achieving comfortable DPS very easy, so you can focus much more on defense. The Guardian Ascendancy is a rare recommendation, but it suits that role perfectly due to tons of free block chance and additional auras. The other notables are not that great, so you can pick the new Bloodline Ascendancies instead. The chaos damage of the Doom Blast can be used to inflict powerful poisons. You can also opt for the hit-based critical strikes, but that approach requires a lot more investment to be worth it. Both variants will want to include Wither debuff, which massively increases the chaos damage taken by enemies. You will easily reach the block cap for both spells and attacks, and achieve large amounts of armor and energy shield. The recovery comes from regeneration, leech, and fast recharge. You will also weaken enemies with enfeeble curse and malediction. The clear speed is great thanks to fast mobility and large area coverage, but it can be massively improved with certain high budget items even more. The damage against bosses requires good placement of overlapping curses, but it can reach great amounts once executed properly. This setup requires specific unique items, which makes it unsuitable for a league start. At this point, you can easily get all the necessary items for less than 10 Divine Orbs. The unique gloves and helmet are necessary to enable the core of the build. The Whispers of Infinity Amulet is a must to sustain the mana costs, while the Coruscating Flask and the Brutal Restraint allow you to safely reserve your life with more auras. You will also need the Festering Resentment Dagger to solve the poison chance, although it could be done via other means. This helmet is a very cheap way to get the level 30 Impending Doom support. Later on, you can corrupt it to get various useful defensive modifiers. You can acquire an even higher level of the Impending Doom or a second useful support gem via the Forbidden Shaco. It is incredibly expensive, but worth considering once you've exhausted cheaper upgrade options. Curse spells have very high mana cost. Sustaining regular mana costs would be very hard, but you can turn them into energy shield costs, which will be trivial to sustain. Vixen's Entrapment instantly triggers socketed curses when you use a curse spell. The socket order affects the triggered curses. This effect has a short cooldown, lowered down to 5 triggers per second. It also provides leech and a large amount of cast speed. The new Festering Resentment Dagger grants a lot of block chance, improves your damage with poisons, and guarantees poisons with Impending Doom. It also triggers useful utility spells. The Circle of Nostalgia Ring grants a decent amount of damage, tons of chaos resistance, and potentially useful synthesis modifiers. Betrayal's Sting offers a massive boost to your poison DPS, but makes it harder to cap your elemental resistances. You should try to get a Corrupted Implicit. The Balance of Terror grants tons of cooldown recovery rate, which is very important for both Impending Doom and Vixen's Gloves. Only manually cast curses count for this duel. You will use a lot of auras, so there are many good combinations to mix and match. You should aim for damage over time multiplier from Malevolence, and an additional block from Discipline or Determination. The Foulborn Witchbane duel greatly enhances your clear speed with explosions, as every enemy you kill will be naturally cursed. To improve your damage, you will need a damage over time multiplier, a bit of cast speed, and at least 2% cooldown recovery rate. For defense, focus on high energy shield, armor, and cap your resistances and attribute requirements. You will also need a recharge rate and life regeneration to sustain your costs. Look for a dagger with both damage over time multiplier modifiers and some increases for damage over time or chaos damage. You can also get cast speed here, freeing up a few passive points. You shouldn't have more than 5 casts a second with your main curse. Your body armor is a purely defensive option. It should provide tons of energy shield, armor, and flat physical damage reduction. It can also speed up your recharge. Your boots should provide movement speed, tons of energy shield and armor, and cover lacking resistances or attributes. You will need a small amount of cooldown recovery rate here as well. On a rare ring, you will need large quantities of attributes and resistances. You can also get a bit of damage via essences, but defense should take priority. Your belt should improve your flask charge generation and provide a decent amount of resistances or attributes. It can also boost your energy shield or chaos damage. The Abyssal Jewel can provide a phasing buff on kill. It should also provide lacking resistances or attributes, a bit of energy shield, or prevent corrupting blood. It can also provide a small amount of cooldown recovery if you can't get it on your boots. Rare Jewel is a good source of lacking block chance, resistances, or attributes. It can also boost your energy shield, damage over time multiplier, or damage with poisons. You can pick a combination of any 3 useful notables for chaos damage here. The Unspeakable Gifts is especially useful for extra explosions. You will use 2 medium cluster jewels. The Circling Oblivion is the best notable for most poisons and should be included on each jewel. You will also want the Eternal Suffering for Wither application during clearing. You will need the Coruscating Elixir Flask to safely reserve life, otherwise any amount of chaos damage would be lethal. It also provides tons of fire resistance, making it easier to gear up. With the Traitor Keystone, you will passively generate charges for each empty flask slot, which is needed to sustain the unique flask even without killing enemies. We recommend using the Quicksilver and Granite flasks that also reduce the curse effects on you and improve the armor further. Temporal Chains is your main curse to activate the Impending Doom. It will also activate the Balance of Terror Jewel bonus for extra cooldown recovery rate. The Spell Cascade creates overlapping areas, which you should aim at bosses. The Awakened version can cause even more overlaps, but is much more expensive. The curse in the upper left socket will be instantly overwritten by other curses to trigger the Impending Doom. You can use any curse here. Despair improves your poison damage by lowering the chaos resistances of affected enemies. Enfeeble is a defensive curse that lowers the damage dealt by enemies. You will need the Awakened Spell Cascade in both setups, which makes this upgrade considerably harder to achieve, but the regular version works just fine, as you could see on the showcase. Discipline greatly improves your energy shield and its recharge rate. You can also use the Val Discipline for dangerous situations. Purity of Elements grants tons of elemental resistances and makes you immune against elemental ailments. Determination is a defensive aura that grants a lot of armor and helps improve it further. Herald of Agony grants a decent amount of damage for poisons and enables the Circle of Nostalgia ring. Flesh and Stone greatly lowers the damage dealt by nearby enemies. You should always stay in the Sand stance. The Enlighten support greatly lowers the mana reservation of linked auras. Thanks to the Whisper amulet, you don't need any unreserved mana. Malevolence improves your damage with poisons and activates Potent Watcher's eye modifiers. Vitality grants a large amount of life recovery, which will be converted into energy shield regeneration. The Arrogance allows you to reserve life instead of mana, and greatly boosts the effect of supported auras. Molten Shell is a guard skill that improves your armor and absorbs a large amount of damage while active. Summon Chaos Golem provides tons of chaos resistance and improves your damage over time. Purifying Flame creates Consecrated Ground, further converted to Profane Ground. You can also use the Transfigured version for better AoE. Those utility spells should be socketed in the Festering Resentment dagger to trigger them each time you block a hit. Frostblink is an instant teleport used to cross terrain gaps and chill enemies. Withering Step applies a few stacks of Wither debuff onto nearby enemies. It shares cooldown with the Frostblink. Whirling Blades performs a quick attack that moves you in a specific direction. Use it often to upkeep the block buff. The faster attacks make the Whirling Blades considerably more comfortable to use. You can also use the momentum support if you have sockets to spare. We recommend helping Alira to ease gearing or kill all bandits to get the additional passive point. For your major Pantheon power, you should pick the soul of Araka Ali to get damage reduction against overtime effects, which usually bypass block. The minor soul of Ralakesh allows you to ignore bleeds, which is very useful for setups that can't remove them with a life flask easily. You can equip your endgame helmet at level 39, which will completely trivialize the campaign with an overwhelming amount of damage. You will need hefty investments into mana regeneration to sustain the costs, and scaling the damage will be a bit awkward due to the position on the passive tree, but it doesn't really matter, as everything will die to a single hit for the most part anyway. You can use any method to reach that level. Our recommendation is to use minions, such as Raging Spirits, or Blink Arrow of Bombarding Clones. It will allow for a very easy transition to the Impending Doom setup, as you will be able to pick the Spiritual Aid passive to scale your damage during the campaign. The endgame, final version of the passive tree focuses heavily on defenses, cast speed for curse skills, and damage over time bonuses. The biggest source of poison damage are cluster jewels. Improving the effect of curses is very beneficial for poisons, and you will improve your defense that way as well. The Wither debuff is a very powerful damage amplification, but sustaining all 15 stacks can be tricky. We recommend putting extra effort into prolonging its duration and getting a better chance to inflict it passively. By anointing the Swagger Notable, you will be able to generate frenzy charges when you block a hit. If you find it unreliable, we recommend anointing as the Mountain Notable to get even more block. That hopefully covers this guide. If you have any questions left, please ask them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you soon in the next video.